Hey there guys, this is Flamzaron, aka YouTube's Tasuke, and it's time for another cool video game review of video gameness. This game's been out for a little bit. I think this is the first of like 3 games that I'm recording relatively close to each other, but this game that I'm going to talk about today is a little game called Sonic Forces, the latest in the Sonic franchise. I know there was also Sonic Mania. If I ever do that one, that's probably going to be in my thoughts, but this one I actually have completed. So figured I could review it. And as you could tell, if you've been watching the video for the last few seconds, I got it on PS4. I got the bonus edition that came with like the little cool skin thing that I haven't used, and also like the in-game stuff, like the Persona 5 thing, which is kind of funny considering how Atlas is now owned by Sega. So I guess Persona is a Sega thing now, and other stuff. I think there was a Knight's costume and a Super Monkey Ball costume, and that's the big thing about this game. You get to make your own Sonic OC. So basically you can make Shiromaru the Hedgefox like you all wanted to. Yeah, I'm kind of the generation of where that whole meme of like Sonic OCs. I never really had any, though I did get a chance to kind of roleplay with this one. I'll go into more detail as we go into the review part of it, but that's sort of like what makes this game really different. You get to make like an original character. They don't give you like every animal under the sun, but I believe they give you dog, cat, bird, bear, fox, wolf, sorry, no fox, and a hedgehog, obviously. Surprisingly, the hedgehog isn't the first one you can pick. I think the first one you can pick is a dog, I believe, or not even like a wolf, because I remember like in the trailers when they revealed this mysterious character, quote unquote, at the time we didn't know it was going to be a created character. They showed off the wolf, and even in the box art, as you saw, they showed off the wolf. So I don't know, just a little minor thing, not even really a complaint or a praise, just a thing to know. But to get back to the point, this is the latest 3D Sonic game. I guess you could say it's maybe the latest main Sonic game. It's kind of a sequel to Generations, but also kind of not. It's in terms of where that fits, like that's kind of a thing. It does kind of tie into Sonic Mania a little bit, from what I've played at least. Again, I'm kind of still working through that one. I'm not far in that one at all, but I'm still on the fucking second level. But anyway, the story of this game is that Eggman is starting to fuck shit up, and so Sonic goes to fight him, but then he gets defeated because there's this masky-looking jackal guy, whose name is Infinite. They don't reveal that at that very moment, but his name is Infinite. And also some of his past foes show up. Shadow shows up for some fucking reason. Metal Sonic shows up. Chaos shows up. I think his name is Zarvok, the guy from, I believe, Sonic Lost World, I think, for the Wii U and whatnot. That was actually put on the PC as well, but he's in the game. I think he's actually like the first of like the bosses from past bosses you get to fight. They don't do all of them, unfortunately, but So Sonic is presumed dead, and the good guys are trying to form up a resistance. Knuckles is kind of the leader, and he finds your character, who's the new recruit. You don't get to name them or anything, and there's no real like choices or anything. It's literally just like an avatar. And as far as I can tell, like they all more or less play the same, with the exception of your little item that you can get. You start off with like this cool little like Grawly-like thing, and you can like whip, and you can like shoot fireballs with your little gun thing, like a flamethrower. Your Grawly thing, that's sort of like your equivalent of like the homing attack and whatnot. Whereas your actual like it's like attached to your wrist, whereas your actual like weapon or whatever, which is sort of like where your character kind of gets a little bit more personality, is in like your little gun thing. I don't remember specifically what they're called. I'll show the character creation so you can actually see what specifically they're called, but they have different types. I ended up giving my guy the blue hammer for like again, role-playing purposes, but thankfully they actually let you make more than one without having to make a new file. That's something that I kind of wish the universe did, but that's beside the point. So they give you more options if you kind of want to like make different people, or if you kind of want to play around with the customization without like redesigning your entire guy. And I think they give you like 10 slots too. So if you have like 10 OCs, which truthfully, as you saw, I only made 3. The guy I played through the main game, then sort of like a red wolf avatar guy for myself, and then one of my actual OCs that I made. And I'll go into his backstory when we get to him later on. But yeah, and there's probably my favorite one to actually use in the game, because again, I was kind of role-playing a little bit, so I sort of was playing in sort of like a different way. But probably my favorite one to use was like the lightning whip, because that was probably so far the closest one to like just a basic melee attack, besides the hammer thing. The hammer thing was sort of like you make blocks and you can destroy blocks, and you can freeze enemies that way, and the idea is like you hit them, or you hit the ground in front of them and then they turn to blocks and you can just like dash through them. With the flamethrower, obviously you burn them to death, and with the lightning whip you hit them to death. That was what I ended up using to fight one of the bosses, Infinite, because like he was right above me and I just went. In fact, I think I got that from Game Grumps, because you know they I think that's what they did. I watched their playthrough while I played this game. I tried to sort of ignore the story. It was sort of like background noise for me, because I wanted to kind of get the story and see it for myself, since this game was kind of mysterious anyway. I'm not usually like that with most Sonic games, but I feel like with this one, I made an exception, because I'll go ahead and say I actually think it's really good. I actually like it better than Generations, frankly, but we will continue onward. So you're playing as your character, and you're trying to like take back all the territories. It's like a very like war like story. Like there's even a part where Knuckles says like, where Vector's like, ah, that's no fun. He's all like, none of this is fun, Vector. That's why it's called war. That's also another thing that Game Grumps laughed at. But so it's kind of different for Sonic. I think it's almost Sonic comic-esque. I know they sort of are concluding the comic, which is sad. I've been meaning to make a video on that as well. But I feel like it kind of reminds me of sort of like some of the war-ish stories that they would tell in like the Archie Sonic comics. And that was kind of a nice little throwback, and I like getting to see all the different characters. It seemed like the other characters were a bit more involved story-wise this time. You couldn't really play as them. Unfortunately, you can only play as your guy, Modern Sonic, and Classic Sonic are the only 3 you can play as. That is a bit of a gripe. I feel like they should let you play as more. I'll go into that as we continue forward. I've said it like 5 times. But while you're playing as your guy, it turns out that Sonic was actually kidnapped. He is able to break free, and he meets up with the good guys, whereas also Classic Sonic appears due to some issues with what's been going on and what Eggman's doing, because it turns out he's got this thing called the Phantom Ruby that like can bend time and like bend space and whatnot, and like Infinite uses it, and it just fucks shit up. And because of that, Classic Sonic's able to appear. I think that's part of how I think Sonic Mania kind of plays more into that, because I'd actually seen some gameplay footage of like mods and whatnot, and they would play like the beginning scene and whatnot, and they showed the Phantom Ruby, and it did like the graphic and made the same sound that was done in Sonic Forces. So it's pretty clear to me that both games are pretty connected, and that they're meant to kind of like go along with each other from the standpoint of like watching Iron Man 1 and then going into the Avengers or something, you know, sort of. Or at the very least, they're meant to kind of go together, I suppose. I don't know if it's necessarily like a one before the other kind of thing, sort of situation. But so basically, the entire team, they all come together, and they're trying to figure out how to defeat Infinite. Turns out your guy is like super powerful, and he can like do the Phantom Ruby thing too, kind of. I think it's like he can repress it or something. It's been a while, so I don't remember the exact details. But needless to say, he has a way. I say he. You can make a female if you want, but your character has a way to combat it. It's due to like the Phantom Ruby kind of reacting to your character. So your character is sort of like the one who is like the main like source of like combat against Infinite. And at the very final boss, you end up playing as all 3 of your characters at the same time. There are a few where you play as both your character and Sonic, and that's actually kind of cool. It's like, I'm running with Sonic. But yeah, ultimately the day is won. Sonic goes off. There's a little cutscene where he's like, hey, you're pretty cool, man. That's the best Sonic impression I can do, and it's an old Sonic too. It's not even Roger Craig Smith, who's like the current Sonic. But speaking of voices, I don't think it was him, but Infinite kind of sounded like Liam O'Brien. He has like a Liam O'Brien, like Ray Chase sort of voice to him. But yeah, so you win the day and all's good. Shadow also ends up helping you as well, and that's sort of like the big thing, because like Shadow shows him like, whoa, Sonic, shit's going down. It's like, Shadow, why the fuck did you beat me up? I didn't actually beat you up. That was a copy of me. Like, oh shit. And that's sort of part of how they reveal that, like, wait a second, that wasn't the actual real Shadow. These are all like copies and whatnot. And there's even a big scene where there's like a giant war. Kind of like Dynasty Warriors or Soul Calibur 3, for example. They take advantage of the custom character assets and like show off like the different characters and like cutscenes and whatnot. And that's kind of cool. I like it when they take advantage of the tools that they've made. Obviously, you're not going to see your like a character who looks like the protagonist from Persona 5 or something like that, but they use like what they can to like make everything kind of look natural while also using the custom character stuff, and that's kind of cool. I always like it when games take advantage of those character creation tools, especially if you're in Dynasty Warriors case where they're having to like make pre-designs of some of these characters. They don't always look the same in the end result, but you know. And I know I said that those three characters, Modern Sonic, Classic Sonic, and your character are the only ones you can play as, but that's actually not true, because there was actually DLC. I think it's called Episode of Shadow or something, where you actually get to play as Shadow. He more or less plays the same as Sonic. It's honestly purely aesthetic, and the game doesn't that section doesn't even really give you any clear indication that it's over. It just kind of stops, but you basically play through some levels. It's like backstory. They show you what specifically happened with Infinite. Turns out he was some like bounty hunter that Shadow beat up, and he's like, you can never defeat me, and then you're a loser. And then Infinite's all like, I will cast away my body and shit, because they actually show him before he becomes Infinite, but they don't show his face, which I find kind of interesting, which made me kind of wonder if like there's something going on with Infinite lore wise. I don't think that's the case. I think just I don't know, that might have just been some sort of like artsy kind of thing. I don't think there was really any reason not to show his actual face. I don't know. Maybe the only other reason I can think of would be to sort of hint at like, oh, maybe this is Infinite before he went cuckoo, but it's just like, I feel like you could kind of tell, one, from the voice, and two, how he looks, because it's not like his entire form really changes, I think. But yeah, like it was honestly, it kind of left me wanting a little bit more from stuff, because like, okay, well, I'm playing as a separate character, but and even if he didn't play that differently from Sonic, like obviously like just some minor things, I'm just like, you know, I want to kind of play some of these other characters. I really feel like we need to get away from this whole only playing as Sonic thing in the Sonic games. It's just like that's sort of hindering the fun of the game a little bit, because it's getting repetitive. It could potentially make the game feel like a chore if we're not even doing anything different. That's what I really liked about the adventure games. They had so many different, or not so many, but like they had different characters you could play as. And yeah, like in Adventure 2, like it kind of became a point of like, this is the same character but good. This is the same character but evil. But like at the same time, like it was still like different. And you know, there was some variety, and different characters had like different little aesthetic differences about them. Different differences. So that's probably complaint number one. I really wish, I know obviously they want you to play as your custom person, which I think is good, and I think that should be the primary one. In fact, I think he's the one you play as the most. You don't even really get to play as Sonic or Classic Sonic that much. But it would be nice if maybe like it's a side thing, maybe more episodes, even like episode Knuckles. That'd be cool. I'd play as Knuckles. Knuckles is still my favorite character in the entire Sonic franchise. He's on the cover too. I'm looking at him because he's like, sweet. Because as I record these, I like to look at the cover so I can keep myself on track. Because as you guys know, I usually record the the audio first and then the footage later. But anyway, that's one thing. I kind of wish they let you have more characters to play as, even if it's just like a side thing. Like and they even do a thing where like, because the stage select quote unquote screen is like a giant world map, and suddenly you get like an SOS, like I need help, or you have to like replay a level. And then you get like some bonuses and stuff, and I'm just like, you know, that's cool and all, but it'd be nice if like maybe because like even Sonic Generations had like some little mini games you could do with some of these other characters. That it wasn't like to the same effect as like actually playing as them from what I remember, but you know, it's still something. And like even if they gave us something like that, I would have at least given them a pass. But here they didn't even give us that, so I'm just like, okay, negative point for you, Sonic Forces. But yeah, in terms of the general gameplay itself, while I'm on it, I feel like they finally have got that speed issue that I've had since Sonic Unleashed. I feel like I think honestly it was a frame thing, because Sonic just always felt like just a teensy bit slower. I think it was due to the frames. I think I was just so used to Sonic Adventure because I played those so often. Sonic felt speed-wise a lot better, and I felt like it worked well with their new engine, because I think these days they want Sonic to look cool, and I think they also want to not have as much like real blur, where like it gets really blurry because it's going really fast. They want everything to be as clear as possible, while also making things look fast. I mean, obviously they have some blurs with like the boost and whatnot, but I think they wanted to kind of make sure Sonic is like as clear as possible. And I think they kind of want him to look too cool, which I think has been sort of an issue. I feel like with this game, this is sort of in the generation further down, because it seems like these days like Sonic's almost like a meme, like with the Twitter thing and like the Facebook and whatnot. They've been doing a lot of like jokes and their YouTube channel and whatnot, and of course Game Grumps and everyone else who plays the Sonic games. Like I feel like that's sort of kind of helping things a little bit. So I think these kind of things in mind are going to start softening, and Sonic Boom as well, because you know, working on a cartoon, that's kind of, you know, all these things are sort of softening up Sonic a little bit in a good way. I think it's going to make Sonic cool, but also like reasonable, and not like too much of a tried hard. I feel like so I think like character and story wise they're gonna do good on that, but gameplay wise I think they finally got it right, for me at least. I know a lot of people are all like 3D Sonic sucks. I'm like, and I say fuck you, 3D Sonic is dope, dog. I feel like they really have improved since like Unleashed. I feel like it's right. It's closer to what I want to be, if not right where it is. The only thing I don't like is that you can't homing attack at will. Like you just jump up, and then I think Sonic does like a little like pulse thing, like his heart's pulsing or something or whatever, or like his spin dash is his heart, and he's going doo doo or whatever. But like when you actually you can't actually homing attack until you get to like an enemy, and like it does a target thing, and then you can homing attack. And I'm just like, I get that they don't want the player to like fall. I feel like, because a lot of my deaths actually did come from like falling. It was never like due to just dying out of rings, unless it was like a boss. But a lot of times I would fall off the edge, and so I think kind of that whole thing, that slipperiness of it, I think that adds to the challenge. I feel like, well, because it teaches you how to like control your speed. Like I feel like that's what makes Sonic sort of like a fun game. Is like it's, you know, you want to go fast, but it's about being controlled as well. It's about teaching the player how to control themselves, if I'm getting all philosophical here. So I think it's kind of important to let to get back to my point, to let the player homing attack at will. Because, you know, even if you do miss, because I know it's like, oh, well, we don't want the player to, like, miss and die and then call the game cheap because, like, they missed a homing attack. I get that, but at the same time, it's their fucking fault for messing up. I think the targeting thing, I guess, is fine if you want to let the player know, like, hey, you can homing attack this, but I still would love to be able to homing attack at will, because it's just fun to fucking homing attack things at will. Like, I want to homing attack things. I want to be like, and just homing attack things. And I think it's more satisfying when, like, you, of course, even in Sonic Adventure, they might have sort of had it to where it sort of locked on a little bit. I'd have to play the game again to really check, but it seemed like, you know, you still had control of where your homing attack went. So like you still had to kind of manually like point it like in the right direction if you had like a row of enemies that sort of like acted as a bridge, from what I remember. Again, I'd have to play those games again to really check, but that's kind of what I liked. I liked that you had like that much freedom, and I liked sort of like the risk of falling off. Like I feel like that's sort of what makes Sonic a, you know, more fun game and a little more challenging too. I don't think we should have these like artificial, I don't think we should have like this sort of like controlled environment. I think like we should be at risk of like messing up, because again, it's on the player, it's not on the game design. Like you can't be all like, oh, this game's dumb because I homing attacked the wrong way. Like, well, it's your fucking fault. Take responsibility for your failures and make up for your mistakes. Own up to them and say, I'm better than this, and try again. That's kind of the point, I think. So yeah, I think like being able to homing attack at will would have been really cool. Even Shadow couldn't do that, and I feel like, you know, they could do that with him. Maybe like, oh, he's a loose cannon or whatever. And obviously with your guy, you couldn't homing attack at will because your guy can't technically homing attack. In fact, I think with his regular jump, he doesn't even do like the spin dash or whatever, or the spinny thingy. The spin dash, I think, is for like the ground thing. I don't know if it'd be accurate to call just his ball form the spin dash or whatever. That's my take on it. Difficulty wise, I feel like this game was mostly fair. I mean, there were some times where I would fall or I would die due to falling. There was this one classic Sonic stage where it was near the end too, where it's one of those like scrolling things where you have to kind of like jump before the screen goes all the way off to the side, off to the left, and you die. And it was timing based, and like the timing was just so rigid. And of course, because it's like Sonic and like your life depends on how many rings you have, and what that's sort of like your health, and you don't have any, you die. Like, it was really like tight and really rigid, and the space on the right side was just tight enough to where you had to be like frame perfect, like pixel perfect or whatever, to like take a leap of faith. In fact, I don't even think you could take a leap of faith, and when you had to wait until like you were close, like it was close enough for you to land. And in some cases, I felt like I had to wait until like my back was at the screen to give me enough room to sort of like make the jump that I wanted to do. And that was kind of annoying. That took me a few tries. I finally did get it, but that was a little bullshit, I think. That was a bit of a pain. I didn't like that at all. That was stupid. The only other super hard time I could really think of would be like near the end where like you're having to like race against like this pillar of light. I was able to beat that. I don't remember how I did. I think I just kind of chose like a different item, I think, because the one I was using, I'm just like, okay, I won't roleplay for this section, or maybe he uses a different weapon. I guess I could use this time to maybe like talk about what I was doing. I was kind of doing a thing where like my Chow in Sonic Adventure, his name is Chuchi. He's a hero Chow, and he has bear claws like Knuckles, except Knuckles doesn't have bear claws, but you know what I mean. It's like he's got like two cool like clawed fists and whatnot. And he was also a power type, so he started to look like Knuckles anyway, and he was pink, and he had like the spines and whatnot. I thought it would be kind of cool if like I had a little story where like maybe like he was like getting older, and like he started getting really weak, and he died, but then he got resurrected as, or reincarnated as like an actual bear, like a pink bear. So I made him in that game. I couldn't get, obviously, like I couldn't like give him like punching things or whatever. You can give your character boxing gloves. I went with like some sort of like stylized gloves. They didn't have like the little emblem for like the races. They didn't have like an equivalent of that. I think I gave him like a chain or something. I don't remember what I gave him some sort of, or no, I gave him a belt. I gave him a championship belt because I felt like that was like appropriate, and you know, the shoes, and I gave him like the blue hammer to kind of represent further the bear claws, and also the fact that he was a power type Chow anyway. So I did kind of something like that where like he was resurrected. I actually wrote down his story in like this old Adobe notepad that I got from elementary school, from I think some sort of like parent day thing. Apparently someone's dad worked for Adobe, and we all got notepads, and I used mine. I haven't written every single page, but it's kind of cool like look back at like my writing style, because obviously I wrote it before I even knew I wanted to be a writer, and then you can see sort of where like, you know, I'm like in high school and whatnot, where like, you know, it's there, but like I haven't really finalized it, like, yes, this is what I want to do, and I'm still sort of in like the voice actor stage, but like my writing bug is still there. And then like recently I actually wrote on it like actually a couple of I think it was like a year ago maybe or something, I wrote in it, and then more recently when the game came out, I wrote in it one more time to sort of like finalize the story, and it was kind of interesting. I don't know if I'll ever post it, but that was sort of it was just kind of interesting to see sort of like my progression. It kind of works a little bit too, because I'm really off topic, but it works a little bit because like he starts off as a kid, and he's like a really old man by the end of it. So like obviously when you're a kid, the way you talk is different than how you're an adult. So it actually kind of worked out overall, I think, from a story standpoint. Again, I don't know if I'll ever like put it online or anything, but it's mainly for me too. I don't know if they ever bring back the Chow in the next Sonic game, and you can import your Chow over using some cool thing with your GameCube memory card for the Switch or whatever. I don't know, or what have you. Then I will, I don't know, have be like a prologue to Sonic Forces. But I thought it was kind of cool to sort of, kind of bring him back and sort of honor those memories, because I had a lot of fun with Sonic Adventure 2 in particular with the Chow, and I put him in. He came from Sonic Advance as well, so that was, you know, it was just kind of a nice little throwback to the past. And speaking of stores, I did kind of play around with him getting like a human form, and sort of like, because I got hit all his stats to level 20 before we got like what was supposed to be like the group memory card, because this was between all my friends and whatnot, where we could put all our Chow in. I remember my Chow was like stronger than everyone because I had taken the time to sort of like grind him up, and I thought like, oh, that'd be cool if like when he goes into like this new human-like world, because his power is scaled to where he in his world, sort of like Superman with like the, you know, the red kryptonite and whatnot and that kind of thing. Maybe he's like actually super strong or something, but you know, that's a story that I think I might have canceled. It was a giant crossover, so you know, who knows. But yeah, that was sort of my thought process in this created character. I made him to the best of my abilities. I think he looks really good. For my just regular guy, like if I were just to play the game normally, I made like just a red wolf with like a cool like scarf, I think, and like some gauntlets and stuff. I think he looks pretty cool. And then I also made a character in a canceled Sonic fanfic where his name was Rayo the Hedgehog, and he was a Sonic and Amy's son. For some reason, though, he had a yellow hair thing, kind of like Tails does, but he more or less looked like Sonic. And it was sort of based around the future arc, or the future side story of the Archie comic, where like Knuckles looked like a cowboy and lost one of his eyes. That's sort of where I got inspired, and where Sonic became like king and whatnot. Where like literally his only design change is that he has a fucking crown and he looks a little taller and older. I kind of based a story around that. I don't think I have any of like the documentation on it. I have some stuff on it because I was thinking about like making it like some sort of like web comic. I'm probably not going to do anything with it, but I did make him. The main thing with him though is that he was a martial artist, or he could fight, he could punch and kick, because he got trained by Knuckles or something. And he had the soap shoes from Sonic Adventure 2, and obviously, you know, they didn't throw those in Sonic Forces. That'd actually be a nice throwback. I mean, they put the fucking Sonic shirt in there, so speaking of fucking memes, and the Supersonic. I need to download that. I think I need to download that. I'll have to go on the PlayStation. I was going to play Fighters anyway, hint, hint of what's to come. But, yeah, so I just made those three. I don't know if I'll make any more. You know, it's all at this point, it's all just like if you just want to play someone different. Like they even have like different like rankings and whatnot. I don't think it makes a difference to your character. I don't think you gain anything. I don't think it's like an RPG where you gain levels based on how much you do with that character. But yeah, the only other thing I can think of to mention, I think, is the music. I mean, obviously graphically it looks really good. I got it on PS4, so it looks really nice. The music I thought was really good. I really enjoyed it. It kind of reminded me of like the old Sonic Adventure days where they had like vocal theme songs and like non-traditional music. I know Sonic Unleashed kind of brought that back, but I kind of liked how they had sort of like, you know, actual songs, like the song that plays when you're trying to rescue or meet up with Sonic. That's like da 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 shining, and then the one where you're in the forest where it's like something about the moon and it's sung by a female. Like I really enjoyed the music, and of course, you know, Fist Bump, the theme song that plays every now and then. And the final boss music, that was pretty good. The music that played when you had your final showdown with Eggman, that was also good. Like this music was actually really good, surprisingly. Which these days, you know, I was never really too big on like certain Sonic songs. Like I think in Sonic Generations, like I think the only song I really sort of like got attached to was probably Chemical Plant, or I think obviously Angel Island because, you know, Sonic 3, but also the City Escape remixes, and also the that's the Sonic Heroes level. I don't remember what it's called. I think it's called like Seaside Island or Seaside Hill or something. And then the one from Sonic Unleashed where you're in like that sort of like Italian or like French village or whatever. That was a nice song. Those were some good tunage, but I feel like in this game, most of the tracks I actually liked. I thought it was pretty dope dog. I did remember my other complaint though, and it's classic Sonic. Not to bring up another YouTuber, but I know the completionist mentioned this when he was talking about Sonic Forces in one of his recent videos, and I actually agree with him. I feel like classic Sonic has little to no reason to be there besides just fan service, and I feel like we got to get away from the fan service thing. I know most Sonic fans just want to play their fucking 2D Sonic. I get that. You got it with Sonic Mania. I wanted one too. Like I think it'd be kind of cool because I like 2D things, but like I'm in the park that wants a fucking Sonic Adventure 3, and like they're not gonna give us that. So like, okay, well, can you at least make it a little kind of like Sonic Adventure 3? And they're all like, sure. And I'm like, okay, cool, thanks. And I feel like this game actually kind of did more of that. So I'd say probably out of all the modern Sonics from like Unleashed and whatnot, this one might be my favorite. It's hard to say. I don't remember if I had another answer prior. I think on the podcast we might have talked about it. But yeah, that was probably like classics. Even just like without even considering what the completionist said, like classic Sonic just story-wise felt like he was just there just for the sake of being there, and it's like, at this point, it's already, it was cool like in Sonic Generations. I feel like at this point he doesn't really have any reason to be there. I think we should maybe try to kind of get away from that. I hope for the next one they do kind of get away from it. He's not even voiced by Jaleel White, which in this fucking meme world of Sonic culture, they're not even gonna bother trying to like, just do that. At the very least, like this was the only like classic version of a character that shows up. Classic Tails wasn't here, and classic Metal Sonic wasn't here. You do get to fight Metal Sonic, and you also get to fight Zevrock or whatever the Lost World guy's name was. He was actually the first one you fight. You unfortunately don't get to fight Chaos or Shadow, which is unfortunate. I think it probably would have looked cool been cool to see the perfect Chaos fight or whatever, or just Chaos in general in HD, since he was sort of like CGI wise, he would look really cool if done right. And I feel like this game, using the PS4's power, or the Xbox One's power, or the Switch power, or whatever, would have really been cool to see. But yeah, other than that, the Sonic fan service is kind of at a minimum. I think it's honestly kind of, I feel like this game is kind of mainly targeted at like sort of just Sonic in general, and maybe even a slight focus on the Sonic meme culture. Maybe not entirely. It's not a meme game, but I do feel like there's a little bit of that charm in there. And I know charm in air quotes, but yeah, I feel like classic Sonic didn't really have any purpose to be there just for the sake of fan service. Like story-wise, it kind of made sense, and having the extra help story-wise was also kind of cool. Like I'm not saying like I'm not saying like he had to be taken out. Like, and I think even on some level, if they had taken him out, the story might have like gotten screwed up a little bit, maybe. But at the same time, I think they maybe should have. I just hope for the next one they don't do this again, because I'm really getting tired of them sort of like nostalgia baiting with this franchise. I feel like in order for Sonic to truly grow and be to me fun again completely, because this game was pretty dang good. It's definitely up there, but I feel like if they had taken away classic Sonic, let us have the homing attack and then maybe let us play some of these other characters that we have, like Knuckles or Tails or whatnot, along with Shadow as well. I think that would have been cool. The only other complaint really that I can think of, and this is just sort of like a minor thing, but like for the custom character, I kind of wish we had more variety with our weapons. Like, give us a sword, or give us like a cool like punching thing, or give us, I don't know, just give us like more stuff to make our characters a little bit more unique than besides just like a little gun thing that either shoots fire or shoots out like lightning, or or whatever. Maybe if they do another one and they let us make an original character, I hope they'll do that. Like if my guy got a sword, that'd be dope. And that could be sort of like oh, you didn't like Sonic and the Black Knight? Well, here, this is what it would be like if it was actually with a controller and shit. Like, I mean, obviously they would probably take a little bit from that, but can you imagine, like, it'd almost be like a slight Mega Man Zero kind of thing where you can just like go through things and whatnot. And I think that'd be actually really cool on some level. But yeah, overall, I'd say it was a pretty good game. My only real issues were, like I said, like there was like a difficult part that kind of got a little annoying. The lack of the other characters that you could play as. I mean, I know like everyone just wants to play as fucking Sonic, but I kind of like it when the Sonic games take advantage of the other characters. I'm kind of weird in that I actually kind of like the story of Sonic. It might just be because I'm so used to reading the Archie comics, because I used to get those in the mail because I had a subscription. Of course, now I can't do that anymore. But maybe IDW's comic series will be okay. We'll see. Probably not. But just kidding. Maybe. It let us play as some of these other characters. For the custom characters, give us more than just a fucking, like, you know, multi-flavored gun. Also, keep the nostalgia and the classic Sonic to a minimum, if just completely taking them out. I think having some nostalgia is okay, but I think it should mainly be, like, references. And even then, like, because I'm not a big fan of references, because they're just so hit or miss. You either get it or you don't, and if you don't get it, you're all like, oh, fuck, I'm dumb. And if you get it, you're like, ha 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 ha, funny. But I think, like, they should have maybe, I don't know if I want to say take Classic Sonic out, but I do feel like it was a bit of an issue. I do agree with the completionist there. And even without seeing his video, I still, like, yeah, I didn't really think he needed to be there. I mean, or it felt like he was just kind of there. Maybe give him a little bit more to do, I guess. If they had taken him away and like been like, I have to go now. Yeah, I can you do your thing. I fixed your problem. Now I go home and fix my problem in Sonic Mania. Then that might have been passable, but you know. But yeah, besides those complaints, I thought it was a really good game. It might even be my favorite of like the modern Sonic games. And by modern at this point, I mean past Sonic 06. Because I feel like Sonic 06 was still trying to kind of cling to the adventure style a little bit. Or we can just exclude Sonic 06 entirely. Even including it, I'd still would probably say Forces might be my fave. It was a pretty fun game. And I would recommend it if you like the Sonic games. I'm probably going to give it like an 8 out of 10. I think that's pretty, that's where I'd put it. Also, I'm glad I'm not the only one who didn't think of the Berserk song Forces when I saw the name and seeing like the war story and whatnot, and seeing how dark it was. And someone actually made a video. I might try to like link it if I can find it, but if I can't, then remind me in the comments and I'll be all like, oh, here. But yeah, pretty good game. Alright, this is Flamesron, aka YouTube Tasuke, signing out. See you later, and gotta go fast! That was the sound of me going fast. Okay, bye.